Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today I'm going to be taking a little break from the wrestling stuff, and instead I'm going to be talking to you about overall my thoughts on Phase 5 of the MCU. And I'll admit, Phase 5 hasn't been great so far. At the start, it had some ups and downs, but overall, pretty middle of the road. So I'm going to go through the movies and the TV shows and give you my thoughts about it. And we're going to start with the movies. Going to start off with Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. And honestly, best thing that could happen for this movie is the look of the quantum realm. Oh, that was so beautiful, and just it made me feel like I was watching a comic book, which was so cool. Some of those extra characters were a little annoying, especially the goo dude who's obsessed with holes for whatever reason. And don't get me started on MODOK. MODOK was just MODOK got done dirty. Like, I think MODOK at times could be on the level of, like, Ultron and Kang and Thanos. Maybe not Thanos, but, like, in the comics at least, he's a good villain. Everywhere else, he's a joke. And I figured the MCU would fix that, make him into a threat. And now he's just a sidekick for Kang, which honestly I thought that was stupid. Another thing I think it was just a little weird was Ant-Man beating Kang. Now, don't get me wrong, I love me a little Ant-Man. He's just as much as a hero as anyone else in this. But him beating Kang on Kang's first night out just kind of feels a little wasteful. And I know, that's not the strongest variant of Kang or whatever. I don't know, something else has got to give with this. And then he got help with defeating Kang by the Deus Ex Machina ants. So, falling through the quantum realm with the Pym family was an ant form. Full of ants, just chilling. And then all of a sudden, they go through the quantum realm, and now they're just geniuses. Which, I know the rules of the quantum realm are weird. They're supposed to be. But good lord, was that dumb. Like, I'll say this. I liked Ant-Man and the Wasp, this movie, maybe a bit too much for my own good. But good lord, upon second watching, not great. And this is actually the antithesis, this next movie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Oh man, this movie got me emotional in ways I don't think I've been in years. Like, seeing Rocket's origin story, him and his friends being tortured by the High Evolutionary, and then the High Evolutionary just exterminating Rocket's friends, which leads Rocket to flee, which, I understand that. But eventually he does come back due to a glitch in his circuitry. I don't know. Rocket's makeup is a little weird. But Guardians take him to the Evolutionary for him to be fixed. Evolutionary wants to kill him. And he almost gets his wish. Until the Guardians help Rocket, and they have probably one of the best fight scenes with these whole bunch of million minions in like a hallway. Man, was that cool. And then Rocket finally getting one up on the High Evolutionary was just so good. And then just the emotional separating of these Guardians. You have Drax going away. Mantis is going away. I think Groot is done as well. No, Groot's still around. You have Peter Quill going back to Earth, in which I hope he's a factor in future movies. And then you got the reveal of the new Guardians of the Galaxy, which I was kind of hoping we would see more of in other films, but looks like maybe not, because it's Rocket himself, Groot, who went through a major growth spurt, Feylaville, who was one of the experiments the Guardians saved from the High Evolutionary, Adam Warlock, who was definitely a big part of this movie, and Kraglin, who was Yondu's second in command. Now he's got, the arrow, he's got the weird fin on his head. Oh, and also Cosmo, the space dog, which, very good girl. Definitely a very sad end, but it's an ending well deserved for this group. Maybe we'll see them again one day, but it was definitely a pleasure seeing that story play out. Anyway, next up is another movie that maybe I gave a little too much love to. It's The Marvels, which, is the team up of Carol Danvers, Monica Rambeau, and Kamala Khan. Now, seeing these three interact, that was fun. Seeing Kamala fangirl over these two was honestly pretty entertaining. My issues with this movie are twofold. One, the villain, who is like generic Kree person who wants to rebuild her home planet using elements from other planets that Carol has called home in her lifetime, which eventually does include Earth. But that villain was just so generic and forgettable. And then my penultimate issue with this movie. So in the original Captain Marvel, they teased a fight between Captain Marvel herself and the Kree Supreme Intelligence. Now, basically, that fight was probably going to be so uneven because the Supreme Intelligence is just a gelatinous blob behind a glass case. But I still wanted to see that fight. I wanted to see Carol get a little revenge. And we saw it as a part of this movie in a montage, which I feel like that needed to be a major story beat in a Captain Marvel sequel. Instead, let's just get it out of the way. Like, I don't know. It felt like that would have been a defining moment in Carol's history. Instead, it gets played off. And, well, I'll say this. They did try to do a good job to make it impactful. Seeing the Kree homeworld struggling after that happens. And Carol, even Carol being affected by it, which is, very interesting. I will give them that credit to try and make that moment impactful. But I wanted to see the moment in full. Like, that's just me, I guess. Anyway, antithesis of this movie, we got Deadpool and Wolverine, which I'll admit was definitely a bit of a nostalgia fest. We got Chris Evans in there as the Human Torch. We got Channing Tatum's Gambit. We get Elektra from the old Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck. We got Wesley Snipes' Blade, which that was funny because if you know little movie history, Ryan Reynolds actually did play a part in Blade, the third Blade movie back in the 90s. And apparently there was some hurt feelings between the two. So seeing him come back was definitely a little fun. Good seeing the TVA again, which that's very cool. But my main points. We got the opening credit scene of Deadpool using Wolverine's skeleton as weapons to take out TVA agents to in sync was just hilarious. That was the most Deadpool thing I've ever seen, and it was great. And of course, the running joke is when we do eventually find Hugh Jackman, although after a couple of tries, including Henry Cavill playing a version of Wolverine, which that honestly blew my mind. Anyway, the main running joke, at least near the end of this movie, was Deadpool turning to Wolverine, breaking the fourth wall, and says, "Yeah, you signed on for a long-term contract. You're going to do this until you're 90. Which, oh boy. I'm so happy Henry Cavill, Hugh Jackman can take a joke like that. Because honestly, I don't think he's going to do this until he's 90. But I do think we're going to see this version of a Wolverine maybe a handful more times. Next up, I'm going to say this movie was a bit middle of the road for me. Captain America Brave New World. Now, my main issue with it is twofold. One, in the advertising, we saw a lot of the Red Hulk. But we didn't get him in the movie until the last, set. The last part of the movie. Which I do kind of get what they're doing. It's pretty much what they did in The Incredible Hulk. Kind of treating the monster like Jaws back in the day. You didn't need to see him to know he was dangerous. But I would have liked to see at least one fight between Sam and Red Hulk. And then, of course, the surprise, we get Samuel Stearns looking a little bit like a booger as the leader, who, if you remember from The Incredible Hulk, got some of Bruce Banner's blood inside his head. So instead of gaining super strength, like his compatriots, he got super intelligence, which, honestly, definitely really cool. I would have adjusted the design of the character a little bit, because honestly, he did look like a booger. But my next main issue, and it's very prominent, this movie felt more like an Incredible Hulk sequel, over a Captain America sequel. And I know this is the first time we're seeing Sam Wilson introduced in this way since his TV show. But man, this definitely felt more Hulk focused than Cap focused. Although I will say, there is a nice moment between Bucky Barnes, who is running for governor of New York, I think, or he's running for a Senate seat, which, honestly, that's so cool. Because that's a playoff of Steve Rogers in the comics becoming president. And that's not a joke. Look that up. For at least, I want to say it was like half a year, maybe a little more. In the comics, Steve Rogers was president of the United States, which, honestly, I'd take right now. But I think the biggest plus of this movie is finally, someone's acknowledging Tiamat from the Eternals, who, last we saw, was trying to break through the earth like a chick and an egg. And apparently, dude's made of adamantium, which is what Wolverine's skeleton is coated in, thanks to the Weapon X program. So yeah, I was entertained by this, but it like I said, it definitely feels like more of a Hulk sequel than anything else. Next up, a surprise hit from Marvel in the Thunderbolts / the New Avengers, in which this was such a really good movie, and it was surprisingly deep too. It definitely felt like we were definitely feeling like, while following these characters, we've really felt for them. Like Yelena, she didn't feel good enough to be a hero. Patriot, or what, John Walker, feeling inadequate as a stay-at-home dad and just wanted to get back out in the field. And in this story, this journey of them bonding, and the Red Guardian bringing the comedy was just so good. And I'm going to say this, they pulled off the Sentry / the Void so well. I was a little worried about that, because one of the side effects of the Sentry is that ultimately he gets forgotten by the world's population. But they kind of twisted that into, the Sentry himself, or John, or whatever he's called, he's the one with memory loss after he uses his powers, which, honestly, I think that's awesome. And then we had a really unexpected early death, because the Taskmaster, within, I feel like it was the first few minutes, just gets utterly destroyed by the trap set by, I want to say it's Yelena, not Yelena, Dave Fontaine, whatever her name is, Elaine Bennis from Seinfeld. So, yeah, definitely an unexpected hit. I do, and this is actually coming up on Disney Plus very, very soon. If you haven't seen this movie, go check it out. And next up, we start with the shows. Starting off with Secret Invasion. First real L from the Disney Plus shows. Because, honestly, I know what they were going for. They were going for a spy thriller with Nick Fury, which does make sense. But all in all, nothing really happens. Like, you do have some deaths, and eventually a Skrull invasion, I guess. But ultimately, it was just a whole lot of nothing. I think the biggest thing that came out of this movie is we found out Nick Fury sent some Skrulls out after the battle in Endgame to collect samples of everybody, put it in this like vial as like an ultimate backup plan. And what does he do with it? Puts it in a teenage Skrull who only met one of these heroes when she was an infant. Which, there's no way she could control all these powers. And yet, ultimately, she knew how to use them perfectly. And now we have an ultimate Deus Ex Machina out there who, I'm going to say this, should not be in Secret Wars. I'm sorry, she should not be. She should be. Honestly, this entire show should just be forgotten. It was a failure, and it just needs to go away. Next up, we got Loki Season 2, in which I saw the first 2 episodes, loved them, but I haven't continued watching. Like, some other stuff got in the way, so I didn't really get to finish the show. I'll probably do that after I'm done here. But ultimately, I do know what happens with Loki, in which he gets his throne. But it's at a cost, because he's literally holding the multiverse together. Which is just, that's crazy. And he's more than likely going to have a big role in, at the very least, Doomsday. So next up, with these 2 seasons kind of coming out at the same time a year apart, so that's definitely really funny. You got What If Season 1 and Season 2 and Season 3, which, honestly, I'm going to say this, overview, we kind of just got surface level of what this show could be. Like, you go read any of the What If comics, you kind of get a little bit of a deeper story, and you got some more interesting characters. I will say, though, the most interesting character to come out of this is Captain Carter, who is Peggy Carter, who took the super soldier serum. I say that 5 times fast, damn. Instead of Steve Rogers. And yeah, that's kind of it. And the rest of the show is formulaic, leading to team-ups. Which, the first time it happened, that was fine. Second time, it was actually just Captain Carter and, I do forget her name. She's like a Native American woman who spent time in the Tesseract and got powers from it. Which, honestly, that's pretty cool. And then Season 3 is just another big team up with Captain Carter, Storm, who is worthy, which I want to see that universe, the daughter of Howard the Duck and Darcy, in which that episode was dumb. That was a dumb episode. And I feel dumb for watching it. And then there's also the woman from the Tesseract taking on Uatu fellow Watchers. Which, I'll admit, that was a good fight. But I think What If needed to get away from the formula and just tell some more isolated stories. And get some good deep lore in there. Next up is Echo, in which that is a show I definitely need to watch. Like, I'm a little disappointed in myself for missing that one. She was introduced in the Hawkeye series, and, well, maybe not the most interesting character in the world. I definitely regret missing this one. Next show is Agatha All Along, and this was a perfect way to, like, explore how magic works in the MCU. Because, magic is definitely a concept that honestly most people don't understand, and maybe doesn't really have a limit. So Agatha all Along definitely putting limits on stuff, I thought was definitely pretty cool. We definitely had a really good retelling of Tommy and Billy's resurrections, even though they were technically not alive. So, gonna see Billy, Tommy, and Wanda eventually reuniting, I think would be really, really cool. Next up, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, an animated offering. Another show I missed out on, which some other things definitely came up. I'll give it a watch before Doomsday comes out. I definitely heard some good things about it. Next up, another show I need to finish. It's Daredevil Born Again. And I did wait for this show to come out in full. I watched the first 2 episodes. I did enjoy it. But I didn't continue for whatever reason. So, it's definitely going to be interesting to get back into it. And then we finish up with, honestly, a really underrated show. It's Ironheart. Now, I know people had issues with this character initially, as did I, because she kind of disrespected Tony Stark a little bit. Because in the beginning, like in the first thing we hear her say, oh, Tony Stark was built with a silver spoon, he had all these resources to build these suits. And eventually he did, but the first suit he made was with a box of scraps in a cave. So that did annoy me a little bit. Eventually, I think I liked Riri more and more. The more I got to know her, the more I saw her situation. It's definitely interesting. And then the big one. A character I've been wanting to see since WandaVision. Mephisto, aka the devil of the MCU. And, let's just say this show left Riri Williams a bit open-ended on her situation. Because, now she's reunited with her friend. Minor spoiler alert. But, this is going to get interesting real quick. So, that was my overall thoughts of Phase 5 of the MCU. Bit middle of the road than I would have liked, but overall, I did enjoy a lot of the offerings that was sent by Marvel. Phase 6 is coming up. We're coming up on the end game now. And obviously, I already saw Fantastic Four First Steps, which, if you haven't seen that yet, get out to the theater. But overall, Phase 6, middle of the road. But overall, I was entertained. So that'll do it for me. Coming up on Monday, gonna go back to the wrestling, review NWA Power, AEW Dynamite, maybe AEW Collision, and then During the week, I may come out with a theory video on what I think is going to happen between Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, which I think could get very interesting. Hopefully you all stay tuned for that. Till next time, Excelsior. Peace.